so far are a lot of the people listen in Facebook only. So anything that you specifically want to bring up and say as well, this is what I want to talk about. These are things that I have thoughts about and so on.
I think we just went live.
Hello.
Okay.
Live on Facebook.
Yes, we did.
Hey, everyone. Hey, Gita.
Hi, everyone.
Look, I made it. Would you believe it? I made it. Technically challenged that I am. Nice to see you.
I'm very proud of you. Well done.
I like to know when you had our feet in the sand with Tosses.
Yes.
Okay,
yeah,
we have just gone live on Facebook.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna say hello to everyone and say, look, today we're just gonna try our first proper session on tourism in Namibia and what's coming for us, how to deal with the issues going forward. Any topics people want to talk about, we want to focus on, how to revive tourism with what we have, what we know so far. It might be as soon as a month or 2 months. We've got Joseph here, Yvonne, Hita, Suzanne, Heiko, Tony, Prosper, Matilda. Nerago is joining, and we might have some more people joining. So yeah, we can all introduce ourselves as we go.
Yes, if I can start, my name is Kita Petzold.
Yes.
I work for the Hospitality Association of Namibia. We've got about 380, close to 400 members if I count all the associate members, the publishers, the caterers, the restaurants, and all of them at the moment are basically in shutdown because travel, our industry is banned. A lot of desperation out there, but a lot of positive spirit as well because Namibians are resilient. So let's see way we can tackle it.
All right. I think I'll go right after Gita. My name is Prosper and I work for the Tour and Safari Association of Namibia. We represent the tour operators. We also have an affiliate membership. So we've got a few lodges who are also involved with tour operations. Some of them are also duplicates. They are Han and they are TASA because of their work. And then we have associate members who are now your Southern African operators. And same as well. Some may have accommodation and tour operations. So those are our 3 categories of membership. All in total, it's more or less about 150 operators that we represent at the moment. But that number is growing pretty quickly. So yeah, that's pretty much us.
All right, I'll jump in next. I'm Suzanne. I'm from Reservation Destination. We are a central reservations office for about 26 lodges in Namibia, most of which who are Han members. So nice double flop there. And yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thanks, guys.
Welcome.
Hi, I'm Joseph Kafunda. I'm the chairperson of the Emerging Tourism Enterprise Association in Namibia. And I have approximately 92 members currently registered as association member. And mainly with tour operator, tour facilitators, and then I do have also accommodation operators, and then we have partially tour guides. And since the COVID-19, majority of my members, or mainly of my members, are not being involved in the tourism whatsoever. So that's it here.
Welcome, Joseph.
Hey, Prosper.
I'm Tony. I'm a freelance tour guide. I am a member of TAN as well as a couple of other associations. Have been in the lodge management side of tourism as well as logistics. And yeah, so that's what 20 years of experience, and we're all here to give in our input from all sides.
Hey, Yvonne. I think we lost Yvonne there. Haiku.
Okay.
Hi guys, I'm Haiku. I'm from one of the local Namibian companies about Africa. Also, definitely part of the local is Lekker group with representation Yvonne, and also representing Destination Soccer Point as a non-profit organization. Members across the board as well. So yeah, looking forward to some positive discussions here today.
Yvonne?
Hi,
Matilda, yeah.
Yvonne back. Now, mine is very short. I'm just a freelance tour guide doing mostly French-speaking tours and trying to hear how this discussion works out for freelance tour guides, seeing as most of us do not have contracts. Just find out what we can. So thanks for letting me join in.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yvonne?
My turn.
Yes.
Last one.
Hi, I'm Yvonne. I'm the owner of Magic Destinations, tour operator here in Namibia, and the co-founder of local tourism is Lekker. Welcome,
Wonderful.
Yvonne.
Okay, we can. No, absolutely. I'm Rupesh. I mean, I also started local tourism is Lekker, and we can start discussions as with Heiko said. Heiko has a few points to discuss or start with, and
I was nominated.
but we have questions on. We are getting questions on Facebook feed live, so we can always bring them up and discuss those. We've got 40, 50 people watching already.
Oh, great stuff. Okay, well, if you jot them in or just bring us into when the people are saying something on Facebook, then we can obviously answer and discuss those. What we discussed in the group beforehand was just literally what are we discussing today? We had our first session on Friday. We had our first thing on which was very informal, very basic, which was a lot of fun. So today it's a bit more short notes from the group, ask people to introduce themselves, that we've done. Then finding ways to revive tourism in the future, especially with Namibia being one of Namibia's prominent markets, and then get the public involved to get other insights and other opinions on what is going on where, not only within tourism, but also to realize what is going on in the market outside of tourism and bringing that into our fold as well, so that we can have a better idea of what everybody is feeling. And that's from the retail industry, the service industry. Everybody's feeling a ripple effect. We definitely discussed that at length the last time, about the definite ripple effect felt. And then lastly, what also just some information that, has been since Friday up until now. I personally have gotten some information from Johan Rupert from South Africa, just some points on what, magnates of industry are saying in terms of this is how they are seeing it and the effects they are feeling. And it sometimes is not too positive. Just sometimes it's just very realistic, and not to be the negative Nelly in the whole story, like I said last time as well, but it's very important to always think about how realistic other places are seeing it as well. And they did reference Namibia to that as well. So yeah, that's basically the plan. Any other questions that come up along the way, we can definitely address at that time. So Yvonne, I think you being the one that says finding ways to revive, maybe give us a head off with that.
I'm in a space where I can't really say which way I'll be going, because as a tour operator, I fully rely on international guests, because obviously locals, they don't really make use of tour operators. So I'm in the dark. I don't know where I'm going, where I'm coming from. It's a very trying time for me at the moment. So if we can at least help others like accommodation establishments, those that offer activities, etc., if we can at least help them to keep their heads above water, it would be awesome.
Okay. I don't know if I can just jump in. I don't know if there's a route to follow, but Yvonne, one of the things we're looking at, and it's a snatch in the dark, but it's one of the few things that we can sit on. At the moment, everyone is speculating, and it's whether it's positive, whether it's negative, we are speculating. I mean, we are in totally unprecedented times. we are trying to base our future on things that we have no clue is going to happen. Everyone is looking at the long-term effects. No one is looking at the inevitable possibility, because this is a pandemic, because no one's ever been hit before, that a virus could come, a vaccine can come out a lot sooner than what they so-called say, because these are unprecedented times calling for unprecedented ways of recovery or survival. One of the things we are busy contemplating with our lodge owners at the moment is the sale of vouchers, based on selling vouchers at current rates, valid for the, at the moment, I would say 1 year, but I'm pushing for 2 years, which means you've got the exchange rate now and you have the existing now rates, possibly valid for 2 years if the lodges agree. This means that operators could follow suit in buying into the voucher scheme, selling itineraries on a voucher basis valid for the next 2 years. Again, speculation, but I'm trying to get revenue in now for our lodges. So if the condition would be, for example, let's start with tapping into the direct market. You tap in the direct market, they have to pay 50% now to get the voucher. Some people are going to say, because of the exchange rate, because of the advantage of this rate, because they know they travel every second year or every year to Namibia, they will buy into the bonus of the pricing structure. We're not expecting to reach millions because everyone's in lockdown. Everyone's had a salary cut or no salary, but it's a shot in the dark to try and keep head above water. And if you could sell an itinerary on a based on the
Suzanne,
next
there we go.
years of validity. Sorry, I had an incoming call there. Sorry. So yeah, can I carry on?
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Okay. So the idea is to buy into a concept of book now, pay later. I mean, pay now, book later. The restaurants are doing it in Europe. They're selling vouchers for example, 150 euros for a meal, whatever, but they're giving it now at 100 euros. And they can then use that 50 euros on something like drinks or whatever. So there's an add-on to it. Now, at the end of the day, it's a shot in the dark, but it might generate a few bucks for now to keep us going for the next couple of months. So that's my 10 cents.
Thanks, Suzanne. Definitely not a push in the dark or a grab in the dark. There's a lot of people thinking exactly that way. Buy now, travel later, keep the rates in effect as they are at this point in time. Forex that is counting towards benefit and so on. So it's a definite avenue, in my opinion.
Anyone else on that?
Yeah, let me just add, Suzanne. The idea you have is brilliant, and I think for the international clientele, it's definitely an attraction. But that's of course in the long run, because we don't know how long the travel ban is going to carry on for, especially for international clients. So we've got this loophole now that we have to, overcome. And I can only see that it's going to be a couple of months before international guests can come in again. And then it's also not everyone will be able to afford to travel any longer. After the lockdown, many don't have an income. So in my view, we have to push local traveling and get the locals interested and capable to travel their own country.
So I think on that, your locals are in the same boat as your international guests, and with the economy and where we at individually, I think it's going to be a very tough call. I think the lodges that have campsites and cheap accommodation or affordable accommodation, let's rather put it that way, they definitely have a market. But I mean, if you take a lodge situated somewhere in the Zambezi and they have to provide dinner, bed and breakfast, your costing, and it's not fake costing, it's not It's obviously not our current rack rates, which is based on generating additional income, or not even additional income. It's the way our market is international. We've looked at that, and obviously there is the possibilities. And yes, I think the lodges will look at. I mean, we have Namibian specials throughout the year. It's not just a special that comes because we have COVID-19. I mean, we run anything from 20% to 40% at the various lodges. Each lodge owner has their own discretion on how they wish to work it. Of course, it's always a trick when it comes to tour operators and running specials for the locals, although many locals don't really have a problem with it. Some do come to us and say they would like commissionable rates for the local markets. So we just have to see. But yeah, local travel is obviously an option, a sooner option than the international one. But I mean, if you could get an agreement, for example, with a car rental, the idea would be to promote an itinerary, which could run and be guaranteed for the next year, depending on what the lodges agree to, how long they're prepared to keep that valid for. I think the longer, the easier you make it for the tourist, and the more flexible you make it, the more will jump on board. But there has to be incentive for that. So,
Yeah,
but we
Absolutely.
yeah, I've
we
got a
see.
question there.
Mm,
It's more from Rupesh and also on the comments that have come through this far.
I
Uh,
can't see them.
would it be possible for us to maybe run a survey to figure out within the local market how much support can we expect, or to what level is the interest of our local travelers? Because I think with that information, it becomes a bit easier to figure out a framework of some sort on how to structure the marketing and the selling of this products or promoting of local travel. This is now obviously after lockdown, or once things are starting to come back to normal. So is there a possibility that we could look into something like that, Nrupesh, or is there anybody there on this platform who would be willing to probably look into assisting putting together a survey that we can run? I would be
No, we
happy
can
to give
definitely.
input, but seeing that you guys you already have a platform where you are pushing for local tourism is Lekker, I think that there is no need to reinvent the wheel. We could figure out how you could already use the available platform as a wheel for to get this the necessary information before, because yeah, I think these are all great ideas, but we have to start thinking along the lines of, yes, we've got this one good idea, or we've got these two good ideas, how can we practically implement? And I think that all starts with having the right information.
No, we can do a survey on the on the Facebook page, and we can do it via the association's members. We've got a lot of people watching. I'm sure everybody has been is happy to give us a feedback on their thoughts. So we just need to come up with a set of questions and all, because local tourism will not help the tour guides.
Yes, that's true.
That's another big issue we have to also deal with. So,
and I think
we will definitely, we can start with,
when you do the survey, it shouldn't be more for the I think through the associations, yes, but this has to be more a public survey. Because
okay.
we want to hear from the public. We want to hear from the Namibian people where they're at with regards to local travel. Something that we must also figure out is, are they willing to spend money on travel, and to what extent, and so on and so forth. These are the kind of trends that we want to understand, or that I would assume that all of you on this platform, you would want to know. I think, and Rupesh, you raised a solid point that for the tour guides, so far one won't see much of a benefit, but I think it's something we can get to maybe later as we continue with this discussion. But for now, how can we structure this survey? I don't know, maybe Gita, you could shed some light or ideas into how something like this could work on a national scale.
I must admit, I'm very impressed with what Yvonne and Rupesh have already achieved. I mean, this local is Lekker. I haven't seen a Facebook page grow as fast as it did. And I see from some of the comments, and even some of my friends are now trying to connect. And you would see that Jean Pinard this morning also linked in, because he says, you know, with us trying to revive the whole industry, we can now also look at community tourism, etc. So there's a lot of drive on our site as well. And Rupesh, if you just sound out on that Facebook page, with how many followers do we have now? 4,000. That gives you a very
over 4,000.
And I know the interest is there. Yes, as Suzanne mentioned it, there is challenge, and because people are not able, not that they're not willing, but they're not able to spend as much as our foreign tourists. So that would be a gauge that we would have to somehow see. But I've always claimed that Namibia has it for everyone.
Yeah, that's great insight, and I agree, Gita. I think the page is really grown, and that's why I think it can really be a wheel that can be used for positive for a positive impact with during this time, especially considering that we want to really figure out how we can maximize and really make use of you know, or how we can grow the local tourism. So
I'm just going to jump in there quickly. In terms of the questions, our big thing here will definitely be to publish the possibility that such a survey is opening up. We've mentioned our Facebook page now, and yes, it's grown phenomenally. And we've got other organizations and other groups and platform. Tourism is in my blood, etc. and so on. They're all eager to literally just, everybody needs to take hands, and that's the driving force behind why we're doing it, so what they're doing it, the way we're doing it. But that on our Facebook page, that we create a platform or link where we can say, listen guys, what are the most prominent questions you would want in such a survey? And then obviously to set up a survey like that would be easy within the next week or so, to say these are within the next 7 days, or like this week even, we can set it up now and then by close it off on Sunday, and then see what questions were the most asked or the questions that we most received, and put that into a survey. And that's where every Namibian counts. And this is literally coming back to one of our second points, get the public involved. You know, now our group is growing exponentially and great, but get the rest of the country involved as well, because that's how the information collectively gets put together to establish what is needed and how we're going to do it. And Rupesh, then I'll let it go on again before I get flagged down again. Just want to answer one of the comments that came through, because it actually relates directly to what we're saying here. Lucy said on our Facebook, as a tour operator, I can't afford it right now. And secondly, it implies that you use the money now, but how will it happen when guests will travel in a year or so? Will the accommodation still be there and alive? And which service will buyers get then if the money was chopped now? I think the biggest part here, coming from an economical standpoint, is everybody is unsure about what is actually happening in terms of industry. So it's the factor that not everybody will be able to afford it. That's a fact and a reality. And I will highlight very shortly about what we said in last week's discussion in terms of what does the average Namibian actually do earn. And there are a few places in around central Namibia where someone might be able to do it. But I think Gita or Suzanne mentioned, what about the places further up north? That was in this last week's discussion as well. It's not going to be easy for everybody, and it's not across the board. The reality of the matter is still that we still need to keep the information going to see what are the ideas and what are the informations that we can get together. So, Lucy, it's not for everybody's not going to be able to afford it. That's a reality we have to face. But the idea at this point in time is so that we can move forward with information on what is everybody doing and get that collectively done. So, yeah, that helps for now.
I don't know. I see Maureen is trying to log in. If somebody just had a crystal ball, because, you know, and Heike, you said you wanted to share something that Rupert had said. Last week, I was contacted by South Africa Magazine, because they also have Han members. And, you know, when I was sort of promoting Local is Lekker and sort of telling our Han members that they should focus on that, because that will be the first doors to be opened, because the European market is seemingly not going to open up very clear even. The lady from South Africa Magazine based in Berlin said, don't be mistaken, because her readership is so hungry for news at the moment. And Namibia would be one of the first countries that they would target, because, I mean, social distancing is our key. So
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, somebody could just tell us, what timeframes we have, and I know nobody's able to do so. Not even the airlines know whether that, earmarked reopening of flights in mid-May or June is going to be realistic. Our travel ban that was called on the 14th, or was it the 17th of March, Rupesh, I can't remember, was temporarily for 30 days. So that should have lapsed, and nobody's speaking about a new date. Nobody's daring to, because the whole world doesn't know. But Namibia, and that cycle, on the one hand, yes, we need to somehow be able to get cash in the bank now to keep going. But I also have a slight, although I see that as the only options to actually get cash flow in, I have a slight problem with the legality of actually then banking and using money now for a service that we're only offering next year when the people want to exchange their vouchers. Who knows whether Gitas Lodge will still be in existence then, and do I then have to pay back the voucher prices? But we need to also focus on keeping people interested. And I think Namibia has an easier game there than other destinations, because we sell what the new normal will actually want to see, and that is wide open spaces.
That's an absolute fact. I mean, we're selling isolation and escaping the chaos, and selling that forward towards everybody. From our groups across the board, the biggest thing has come across agencies in Europe and over to the States. The guys are literally, you are on point there. They're hungry for traveling. There's no denying that whatsoever. The biggest question now is just when, and there is some snippets of information, and I did touch on that. We all did touch on that last week as well, shortly, but in highlight to that, snippets of information that come through now, whether it's a KLM that will do full flights again in June, or in Namibia wanting to relaunch flights and so on. It's literally, it's dependent on how the rest of the world is going to be able. So the willingness is there. It's an absolute definite. That's without a shadow of a doubt. There's much willingness. The information coming out of like the whole ITB organizers that have a lot of information that they gather, Vacanti Beers, all those guys, the participating organizers, they give feedback in such a way that tourism in, for example, Europe is set back with about 80 years in terms of mentality about how the people actually want to travel as a larger group. So it'll mean that they'll be allowed to travel to a next town for a weekend, or in about a month or 2 or 3 to a next region, and then a month or 2 or 3 or 4 to maybe a local next country that's close enough or something like that. So the expansion up until that point that they're going to be traveling across continents and so on is definitely, we're looking at an extended time frame for that, coming out of information that they have gathered. This is in no way whatsoever my feelings or my information. This is just strat sessions that we've gotten from them. But at the same time, they said that you will always get that 1 to 10% that is very hungry to still travel and escape towards our countries. And those are the people we need to keep alive, keep selling the motivation, keep selling the good message, keep selling the positivity. And so that's coming from that, how we're moving forward on a lot of fronts. But time frame wise, not too sure at this point in time.
I do have a question for Susan. Just popped in a group right now. They are asking about, you mentioned about creating vouchers that will last for 2 years.
Possibly,
does that also involve local people, or let's say, for instance, for regional people or Namibians who would like to travel, can they also purchase those kind of vouchers?
Yes, but your Namibian market is totally different to your international travel market. I mean, we have our SADC or our Namibian rates. So that is something on, the way I've presented it to our portfolio is phase 1 being the directs, which is your most, well, not most, I mean, we have 70% tour operator business, but I mean, those are the ones that I think at this stage, if you're going to snatch in the dark, those are the ones that might pull through. Then your phase 2 is your tour operators and how we can work that through, because obviously your earnings or the operator's earnings are on commission. And then phase 3 would be your local is Lekker market, which would then be on your specials and so on. Again, the bottom line is not about the occupancy here right now. It's about generating cash in the bank for the next 3 months. Yes, how do we guarantee a property is going to stay alive? part of that staying alive would be dependent on the income they can receive now, which is where, we're all stuck in this time frame of when. We don't know when, so how can we generate income for now? And yeah, it is going to be a tricky one, especially if lodges start closing their doors. Luckily, we do have a group portfolio, but again, we're still in negotiation phases to see, because we generally have more or less 2 properties in one area, would the other property be willing to carry the risk or carry the other 50%? Because the idea is to get not all the income right now. Hopefully, the aim at this point is to try and get at least 50%. For the tour operators, they would collect 50%, pay over 25%. So again, just trying to keep the chain alive to generate income for everybody. But it's not final yet. And it's, as I say, it's an idea that I think can work, but do people have money now? That is the big question.
I mean, if I can just comment there, Suzanne, I think my concern would be back to that guarantee of the lodge being available or remaining open. I think that there is need to give the people more than, just, saying that for as long as we have income coming in, we're open, because what that would mean is the moment income stops flowing, the first couple of people that may have purchased these vouchers, if income stops flowing a month or 2 from now, whatever the period of time may be, then you can't remain in operations. Then is there a refund procedure that's in place, and how would that operate and so on? I think that as any of you brainstorm further on how to get around either it's vouchers or any experience you're selling for a future time, I think there really need to be a very clear procedure of how you would handle any refund or any paybacks should that, should things get to that point. Because I think as much as we are being optimistic, we also have to remain very practical to how things are developing across the world. I mean, the UNWTO is estimating a full 20 to 30% decrease in travel. And this is after things start to normalize, because we have approximately 96% of all our markets, especially for sub-Saharan Africa, totally closed at this point for one reason or the other. So these are all things that, the biggest question that will come in, especially for the voucher idea, which is a great idea, would be that, the guarantee. And I think that's something that maybe you may want to just take more time to think about that and figure out how you can give a more solid guarantee, because I don't think from what you're saying, there's a very solid guarantee. Again, it's just my opinion from listening to what you're sharing.
I believe that's what this group is there for.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Exactly.
So that's, definitely.
Let me just take this moment, this opportunity to welcome Mr. Gerard and Nerago from, I believe Mr. Gerard is from Danville, John, and Wind Pump, mile 14, if I'm not wrong. And Nerago is from Intermix. Welcome, guys, to the group. And Mr. Gerard, could you be able to share with us a little bit about the effect that you and your accommodation establishment are facing at the moment? There's Galaxy 9.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yes.
Yeah. So no, mile 14 also, when the shutdown came, everything is closed. People are phoning there wanting to know when mile 14 is open. It's one of the, like you were saying, what's one of your quickest recovering potential is your campsites. With the mile 14 campsites is a very attractive thing, and that's also your local market. That's eventually the first thing that Namibians, the Windhoekers, when they travel, they'll go to the coast. It's a cheap way to go do a holiday. And then, for us, it's Dead Valley is, it's dead. Also closed, and we've got no prospects of opening it up within the next 2-3 months. Putting it in maintenance, looking after it, having security in place, and see where it goes.
And Nerago, could you share a little bit of the insight? think you're muted.
Hi. Sorry, first Zoom meetings. I'm still trying to find my way around the, the technology. Okay, hi. Thank you for the meeting. Thank you for the initiative. I'm from Intermixers and Safaris. We're a fairly new and small tour operator. So this really came at a time where we were starting to experience our growth, you know. So we've obviously felt the pinch, but I feel like for a small operator such as ourselves, we're very lucky in the sense that we've got a very small staff complement already. So what we're trying to do is we're just trying to stretch revenue, or not stretch revenue, but kind of stretch our resources, see how long we can retain ours and keep them busy and engaged, by sending positive messages and reinforcing messages about, you know, visiting Namibia at a later stage. So I'm really here as a participant, like to participate, but also to learn from, you know, what the other players are going through and share, you know, how we can survive this. Yeah. That's it.
Good. I've got a question for everybody. I know that it's for certain. Han is constantly doing or running surveys and collecting data on you know, on industry trends and so on and so forth. And from TASA side, we're also trying to really build on that and do better information collection in terms of useful data, you know, especially for times like this. How many of you on this platform have taken part in the past, or, you know, would obviously be willing to be available for such initiatives? Because I think, if I can just highlight something why I'm bringing this up, is that for a very long time things were okay, and then this one thing came and hit the door down, and it's almost like we were not at all ready for it. And I don't think anybody can ever be really fully ready for a crisis, such, especially something of this magnitude. But I think we could have somehow prepared ourselves to a certain extent to just have some useful information, because I think something that's lacking right now, even for government to make decisions. I know at the previous conversation, government came up a lot, and we are expecting so much from government. But if also we have not played our part to provide them with some of the information they require, you know, it's I think it's something that we should take responsibility for, and say that we could have maybe been a bit more proactive in that regard. So again, my question stands: how many of you have taken part, and how many of you would probably be willing to take part in some of these exercises to try and for us to put together, you know, useful information? Because I think at this point, a lot of people and a lot of organizations out there have made decisions based on assumptions or information that's in the media or something that, you know, they had from somebody else. But we do not have a lot of concrete data that can really be used for decision-making purposes. Whether you're running an accommodation establishment, you're running a tour operations business, you are a tour facilitator, whatever business you're in within tourism, I think at some point we have to figure out this whole wheel of data collection. And like I said, I know, you know, Gita has been on this for a very long time now, but Gita, you could probably come in here. I think the struggle continues, that it's difficult to get this information. And could we maybe also talk a bit about that, like how can we tackle that? Because as we prepare to recover, the best way to recover would be for us to make practical and yet very sustainable you know, decisions, or rather implement sustainable and practical solutions.
I think you're referring to tourism statistics, the plain word that nobody is very keen to submit. And I would like to believe that some of the, and we're all still waiting for the stimulus package from government, but some of the sympathy that we received from government as tourism industry has been because of the sad story we were able to prove through the little bit of statistics that we had, talking about GDP contributions and amount of people that we employ. And, we can easily, and I've got a Skype call coming up with Ministry of Labour tomorrow, because they are very upset with tourism, obviously, because some of our members have dared to retrench, which, us all being in tourism, we know that this is the reality, and some people have just not realized it yet. But those statistics are crucial in, like you said, Prosper, building up the tourism industry once doors and borders open again. And Namibians have always been very shy and sharing, not keen to open up their books. And I've never understood why, because in times like these, it actually helped us get some kind of understanding and buy-in from those people that we need. But you're also right, Prosper, we have looked upon to government for too long of a time. At the moment this morning, I had discussions with some people about what do we do and how do we structure ourselves when the borders reopen, or when our places are able to reopen again, in terms of the new norm, with maybe less capacity in restaurants, less seats on buses and planes, how to clean a room or a restaurant table. Do we have to wait for government to set these new regulations? Is it going to be by self-regulation? Can we short call the shots? I don't know. And I also haven't seen yet. I know some hotel groups internationally are looking at some kind of new protocol, and I know South African tourism is discussing it tomorrow, or as of tomorrow, or as of today. Tomorrow is the tourism accommodation side of it. But we have to start thinking of these little baby steps that we need to take in preparation of, getting back to some kind of normality at some point that nobody of us can actually say when it's going to be.
And I agree 100% to everything you're saying. We have to prepare. And I think really, my hope is that everyone on this platform, even those listening through Facebook, they can commit themselves to be available to engage, because we have to work together. As an industry, we have to join hands in the right ways. We are not obviously asking anybody to do anything, I don't want to say too difficult, but anything impossible. It's really just figuring out how can we work together. And I think by collecting useful information, statistics, I think we can really have a better and greater impact. Because again, Gita, you can probably confirm this. The one question that keeps coming up on government level in all meetings is that, okay, can you prove this information? Can you prove this point and that point? And we can't, to be honest. If government is like, can you prove that really, if we stop people from traveling, or if we close the regions, people are going to be unemployed. How do you, what numbers, what stats do you have? It's difficult to do that with the current numbers and information that's available at the moment. So I would really like to urge everyone that let's think about this and see how we can partner with one another and start preparing. Because as much as we shouldn't lose focus on trying to manage the current situation, or manage where we're at. At this point, part of where we're at is milk on the floor. And I'm not saying give up or that we should stop being optimistic. We should obviously continue on this positive energy. In that same breath, I would like to emphasize that I think it's more important that we strongly prepare for the near future. And by near future, I'm talking towards year end. We are talking 2021. That we are ready to put that door back on, and we can just hit the ground running, if that would be possible in any way.
So you're 100% right there, Gita. I want to add on to something that based on the information that you guys have been sending out up until now, together with Fada and all the other guys. I mean, the information has been astounding and helping in those statistics. What the bulk of the people don't realize yet, with whom we have spoken with, is that they don't see how important it is to actually share that information. And I think it's a bit of it's a old-fashioned thinking method of I'm literally ek roer my eie pot, and that's the only thing I want to do because I don't want anybody else to see what's going on in reality. That's a mindset challenge that we have to change. And Prosper, you've mentioned some value things as well about how we need to get the people involved so that they can actually share this information. And that comes back to one of our subjects about where we said, get the public involved. make
Yeah.
them realize how important it is to actually share this information, because we don't care what you have in your bank, because it definitely everybody's taken a knock, but share
At
the
this point, it's minus something.
yeah, so that's a reality. That's a big reality we're faced with. So share the information so that we can actually work on that. Maureen, you've raised a hand if you want to jump in here.
Public eye at the moment.
Your mic is very, very bad. I'm sorry to interrupt
Maureen,
you
we
there, but
cannot hear you.
barely hear. We cannot
We
hear
can't
you.
hear very well.
Maureen, still we can't hear you.
You're still a bit far. We hear a little bit, but it's not very clear yet.
Maureen, maybe just check what mic your device is using. If you've got a headset on or something like that, then it maybe has to use another device, because the other day we heard you perfectly.
Oh, we're waiting for Maureen. The bad news is coming in.
What is the bad news, Gita? Could you
The
please?
Oktoberfest has just been cancelled, so no more Wiesen for those beer drinkers of yours.
No.
Good news, that will save on money.
No! Oh my word!
Gosh.
Maureen, come, Gita, come on. That wasn't such a bad news at all.
More money for us. All those German beer drinkers will maybe save up money to come to Namibia, no?
Exactly.
Hopefully.
Guys, allow me to give me again another opportunity to Tony Hart and Matilde Brassem, just to express to express themselves regarding the tourism sector when it's come to guiding. How is the guide feeling at this moment? Being from the two freelance guide that I've known for many years, and we have shared some good luck together. So,
Joseph, you drive me insane, but anyway. Matilda might agree, because we're on relatively the same type WhatsApp platforms. We're on a variety of them. And I'm just going to be blunt and say it, a lot of the guides don't feel anybody remembers them. And that's revolving or resorting or mentioning freelance tour guides. I don't even want to know. I can't explain how the lodge guides must be feeling right now. We've had a couple of them mention something, but then they would fall under the employees of the lodges. But freelance guides, I would say that there's so much. I said it in the last webinar, that there's so much information and they just feel isolated. That's the main thing. I have mentioned it to one or two other people who are, you might understand it, Joseph, being part of your association. I've mentioned it to Tan, and you can see that they are frustrated is a very short word to describe that. Especially coming out.
Okay,
I agree with you, Tony. That, I mean, most of us know, being freelance tour guides, it's a high risk job. It's a great job, and it can pay well when it's working, but it's also high risk, not only with this situation, but just in general. Most of us don't have any contracts. When tours get cancelled, it all depends on who you're working with, and then whether they're willing to pay you.
Yeah.
But it's true that at the same time, we're ambassadors of this country. We're very important. I mean, until the lockdown, until COVID-19, the tourism industry was the only growing industry in Namibia. So it's a huge economic sector in Namibia. And we are, I mean, like we usually say as tour guides, that we are the most important part of a tour. it might sound a little vain, but a tour guide can make or break a tour. A great guide, even if a great guide, even if all the accommodation, all the activities, if there's issues, can turn the situation around, and vice versa. So we do play an important role as ambassadors of the country, and we do feel like we are being forgotten. We've been talking about it for years and years now, that we need to have we need to be represented, because even though we've got TAN, we've got ETA, it doesn't really represent us as freelance tour guides. Not fully. A lot of people are not even aware that these associations exist. So maybe this is a good opportunity for the government to try and finally put that list together of all the guides that exist in Namibia, because we don't even have a really clear idea of how many we are. So it might be a good idea to use this time to try and put that list together. In terms of what we can get from government, I don't know. Honestly, I don't expect much. I knew this was a high-risk job. If there is anything that we could get, it would be great, because unlike permanent guides, for example, who, even if their salary is getting cut down, as soon as tourism starts again, they will be the first ones to go on tour, whereas freelance tour guides will be the last one to go on tour. So we will have to wait for things to really get a lot better before we will get called again. So if it first starts off with just a few tours, the permanent tour guides will be employed first, and we will be last. So yeah.
I have another question to the freelance tour guides. What do you guys think then should be done or can be done to assist you? I mean, you have mentioned that it seems like you're being forgotten. Could you maybe elaborate on that? Like, why is that, or what's making you guys feel that way? Because I think part of the idea behind this platform is that we can really brainstorm and deliberate these matters in detail, so that there's a really good understanding, a contextual understanding of the challenges or the current situation. So do you mind maybe just adding a bit more info there? Where is the neglect really coming from more directly?
The thing is, we work on our own. I mean, that's the whole point of being freelance. So we're not blaming anyone.
Okay.
But it feels like, there's things. Obviously, the tourism industry is the one that's the most affected. But for those who are non-taxpayers, for example, there was the GEI put in place for companies. There are going to be some solutions, and for employees, there's also going to be solutions. And it feels like as freelance tour guides, we don't really fit into anything. We are taxpayers, so we can't claim that. We can't say that we got fired. We can't say that we don't have any, we've never had a proper revenue, so we can't really claim for anything that's been put in place yet. I don't know if that answers your question.
I might just appease you. When we had consultations with the Ministry of Finance and the consultants working on the wage subsidy, the category of tour guides was very strongly mentioned. We actually put a number to it and said there are about 1,000 freelance tour guides. And what will be coming in, I was actually waiting on heated colds today for an announcement to be made. So it's coming. On Saturday, I got it from 2 consultants that are sitting on Sunday with Social Security Commission and the Ministry of Finance to roll out this wage subsidy. And it will be applicable for everybody that has a tax number. So if you say you have been paying taxes, you're on that registrar, and Social Security as well. So hopefully you have registered yourself there. But tour guides was one of the categories that Finata actually mentioned quite strongly, and specifying the freelance tour guides, because most of the tour operators actually heavily rely on you in good times to make sure that you are mentioned. What the ministry will come up with, or government come up with, and I know the coffers of government are not very well full. I mean, if Europe talks about billions and billions of dollars, and that doesn't seem to be enough, and we come here in Namibia with our 8 billion, of which half of them is actually owned money to to private sector. But anyway, whatever comes, but freelance tour guides has been mentioned as one of the categories of the 110,000 people that we have listed as direct and indirect tourism related jobs that we have in Namibia. So let's hope something will fall your way.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that. Yeah. I wasn't aware of it.
Yeah, we're not aware of that. You see, that is something that Matilda and I can go back and say, by the way, we haven't been forgotten per se. Prosper, just to answer something more on top of what Matilda says. Oh, and I'm just. It's got to do with the fact that we might have just a temporary contract. For 6 months, okay? A lot of the, I understand it with my tourism background from being tour operator and in the lodges and whatever, but not everybody has that kind of experience and nobody sits down with them to try and explain it. And the more, you know, WhatsApp is a great platform to send a message out, but you need to get them together on a platform like Zoom and someone explain it to them verbally, because as soon as what they read is not exactly what they might understand if someone is explaining it to them. So for me, whenever I see they're saying that, yeah, the tour operator gets his money up in front and now he's cancelled my trip. Where's that money? Why am I not getting something? These are things that are coming up from the tour, you know, from the guides regarding the tour operator side, but it doesn't always just work like that. And it's very difficult. Pardon?
No, I'm in agreement. I'm saying that's correct. It doesn't always work that way.
And it's difficult to try and explain to how many are we allowed on a WhatsApp group, how 200 odd or 150 guys who don't understand how tour operating works, how the cash flow works, how, you know, the booking system works. Yes, you might get your deposit, but that doesn't mean to say that automatically the guide is going to get his cancellation fee as well. You know, it's difficult to, yeah, well, that's now the other thing. In this situation, do you want to burn your bridges with your tour operator and say, you will pay me the cancellation fee? I mean, it's there's trips of mine that have moved to 2021, and that's just the way it is. I can't do much about it. It affects me now, but in 2021, at least I know I've got a trip, hopefully, you know. To answer your question is hopefully, or maybe, and this is maybe a suggestion thinking about it, instead of when we're allowed to move around, that the guides get together. There are some informal guides, small pockets of guides that want to see how can they approach government, etc., etc. But I think people like Fanata and that information, and the problem also comes with too much information that's being shared. We don't know what is real and what is not real. I don't know if you agree with that, Matilda. She's gone.
Matilda's on
I
mute.
think we seems to be losing Matilda over there.
Well, I would like to request Joseph, maybe seeing that you have the flow, that you just touch on that. These two ladies have mentioned that they are members of ITIA. Is there anything happening from ITIA side that is addressing some of these things? I mean, I do hear the concern with regards to too much information. That can be understandable. At the same time, if they are members of any of the associations, I trust that information coming through the associations would have been vetted to a certain extent, to at least just, you know, double check that it's correct, you know, before it goes out. So I personally would trust that information. So if I had to get information from ITIA now, or from TAN or from Han, I would trust it, because I do trust in the work being done by all these individuals. So I would say that, yeah, maybe you could just give us a bit of light there, Joseph? Maybe there is something you guys are already doing to help the tour guides, at least the ones registered with you guys, and hopefully the ones that may not be registered yet. But you know, is there anything that you guys have tabled or that you are considering?
In 2012, we considered intercepting guiding into the association, into ETIA as members. And we had a few difficulty with TAN, which was the major key player when it's come to guiding registration. And then from there, we just left it from there. I remember Matilda, Tony, and some few guides to mention who are on this platform. We had constant meeting on the way forward so that they can have one voice. So that when cases like current situation which we find ourselves in, we can be able to discuss and give them the right information. But TAN came in and we led everything to TAN. So my appeal to everyone is that ETIA, it's not representing tour guides. Today, I had already 124 phone calls from tour guides trying to join ETIA just because they read the documents that ETIA is the one regulating tour guides. And it's such a stressful day. I've already drink 5 Panados. I'm not willing to drink another more. So please, ETIA represent tour operators, mainly emerging tourism enterprises. So we are catering for guest house, tour facilitator, tour operators, shuttle operators, and all other things. When we had, or when we were operating at the airport, we are also called ETIA is an association for shuttles, of which it's not the case. We are an emerging enterprise. Anybody who is in emerging, who feel like tourism should be part and parcel of theirs, we welcome you to join as ETIA. I'm very proud. I can see Neravo, I can see Mr. Shikomba here. Those are my members. Those are the people that I represent as a chairperson of ETIA. So for the tour guide, that section, if they said ETIA should take that section, myself, I've been in the industry for 17 years. I'm willing to take the challenge because I know exactly what challenges those guys are facing. And this difficult moment or difficult time, it's a time that a person who understands what they are going through should be able to speak for them or on their behalf. So I'm willing to accept all application form from tomorrow for all tour guides, freelance, permanent, who want to join ETIA. Please, I will give the application form tomorrow on the group, on Facebook, on WhatsApp, on Instagram. You fill it in and then immediately we advise you forward how you can become a permanent or associated member of ETIA. So I need to take it also to my to the board, and then we have to discuss and agree on how should we put that into criteria of which all the guides should be able to join ETIA. I'm very much welcoming the decision that they elected ETIA actually to represent the guide. So please, guides, feel free. We welcome you all. Join ETIA and we will have one voice for you all.
Are you speaking more, Joseph, for the freelance guides?
Both permanent, freelance, we are welcoming everybody. It's an association. An association, we shouldn't be able to discriminate or should have to look at who belong where. Either a permanent guide can have also a problem. A freelance guide can also have a problem. We are here to help and to solve that problem for them. So that should be our mandate. So freelance, permanent guide, we welcome all you. Join us.
Joseph, that sounds excellent. I think more importantly, Gita has mentioned, especially with the Ministry of Labour discussions, that they're also about what consideration is being made towards tour guides. And I think that's quite awesome. So just as a suggestion here, now that you're going to get so many new members, it might be important that you guys then set up something where you guys can hopefully collaborate on sharing some information. I know Gita and them have been sending through phenomenal information and literally trying to collectively get information together and sending that through to everybody, which is absolutely great. Hats off there. And more importantly, but if that collaboration can take place, that we can then get some feedback as a whole, instead of just posting it somewhere, collectively getting that information. That would definitely be a big help.
In addition to what you have mentioned, Joseph, this is just bearing in mind, the spirit of a united tourism industry, a united Namibian tourism industry. I would still think that there can be great collaboration between ITEA and TAN with regards to working with tour guides. And TAN has been the association for tour guides, and specifically and solely tour guides, for a very long time. So if that's something ITEA is looking into taking up, and as you've mentioned that you would be happy to assist and to represent the tour guides, I think that it would still be good to look into how best the two associations can then work together for the best of the tourism industry and for the best interests of the tour guides in this case. I don't know what are your thoughts on that, but I think that it would be beneficial to have that that collaboration or that link working very well.
You have to understand from the beginning our idea or ideologist of guide. When before I even become elected as a member or as a board of ITEA, it was always to work in collaboration with TAN. We have had constant meeting. Me and Rolf, who is the current president, have a very, very good understanding, of which I shouldn't see it as a problem to work with Taza, to work with Gita. I've worked with all of you guys. So for me, I see it as an opportunity that they've thrown my way or give me more weight to talk about tourism industry, or as an industry at all, as in large, especially with those people who are finishing the job, like tour guides. Tour guides are the most important people, the one who play a key role in everything. It's those one who make the clients go back home and smile, without neglecting the office and with all the logistic. But we have to acknowledge that guides have a very difficult job, of which when they execute it nicely, it makes sure that for us, we have also return clients or clients that can return based on the guides' certifications. So we need to look at it's in a both way street, of which we have to look at opposite side and the right side directions, of which we have to come up with an idea how we can be able to implement and incorporate guiding into ITEA as an enterprise association that represent mostly emerging. But I welcome everybody. I don't have a problem. So anybody who feels like, even tour operators who feel like to become part and parcel member of ITEA, our arms are always open. We don't select who and who. So we want everybody to be part and parcel of the tourism industry.
I'm wondering, Matilda, maybe I will give you a call tomorrow, and then we must see if we can't put something together, you and me. Yeah, I've just volunteered you.
No problem.
Well, it's not like we've got much to do. I'm still pressing lemons, by the way. What I wanted to say was maybe we should just come up and on those platforms, you know which ones I'm talking about, just maybe put something out there to those bunch of guides that, that we see, is there an interest for, instead of just them complaining or saying nothing's being done, who would actually be willing to join with Joseph, or actually join up with Tan or whatever it is, because it doesn't just help that they keep on moaning or saying nobody's thinking of us and nothing gets done. I don't know what you think. Maybe we can put a survey together or a couple of questions. I don't know. I'm just thinking.
And if I can jump in there, I think that's absolutely phenomenal. That's important that you guys keep that as one of the sectors of the industry. Tour guides form part of the industry. So that's literally a vital point. I think just if we don't elaborate too much longer on that, then the basic structure and the most important part is gather that information, most importantly is also to know that everybody in industry is obviously considering all aspects of the industry, and one of the most important factors is, of course, tour guides. So because we're going to be doing one of these sessions again, and it has been written down as tour guides being part of the discussion or the point of industry, get that information, collaborate, speak, share information, and if we can get that, yes, yeah.
When?
No, well, we'll definitely let you guys know. So if you followed our Facebook page and so on, there'll definitely be an event going out on that again.
Probably
but
this
in
week
Rupesh,
sometime again.
Okay.
Maybe Friday again, maybe Friday sundowner with apple juice, or those who are still lucky enough to have a beer or wine in their houses, something like that.
Heiko, you promised me a glass of wine. Heiko, you promised me a glass of wine.
I even cheered you with a glass of wine when I left the conversation, but that was Friday. Now it's Monday. We follow a normal week routine.
Times have changed.
Times have changed. So please,
Maureen,
it's important for us to know. Yeah. Maureen, yes, please. Bist du da?
Maureen, we are still waiting for you.
I think it's still not working for Maureen. Hita, would you like to say something?
No, I'm actually fine. I'm just checking the time. Are we going to
conclude?
Yeah, there's one, and this is now just on one of the points which I said on our program that I'll bring up.
Suzanne raised her hand.
Oh, okay, Suzanne, please go.
Sorry, I won't be long. I just want to say, one of the things I saw yesterday, which I think is relevant to all of us, is we are definitely all in this together, but definitely all on different levels. And different people are feeling it in different ways. And one of the biggest problems that we're facing is that when there's nothing happening, our minds will take over and the reality sets in. And I'm just wondering, I know this is a tourism platform, but as tourism is one of the biggest economy, whatever's of Namibia, isn't there a way to turn this dull time, this hard time, this empty time into doing something productive for our local communities? We've got winter coming up. I know this isn't a social study group, but we have winter coming up. We've got people that can knit. We've got things that we can do that maybe we can get sponsorship for that will keep us busy and just productive until the 5th of May or for the next 2 months. Is it not something that the tourism platform can look at into doing what we always do, and that's always taking care of other people?
So we might be on our knees, but still taking care of others. That's excellent.
Yeah. There's one lodge in the east that has started their staff off sewing face masks, and they are very keen to donate these. And I said, well, donate it to the old age homes or to the, to the special needs homes in your area, or even go to the supermarkets and make them sell it, and then the funds raised can be given to food parcels for the needy. So yes, those few tour employees that are still at lodges haven't been retrenched yet. They are being put to use for maintenance and those kinds of products like knitting, sewing, especially face masks and all those other things that we need. Please, if there's a platform, we can actually market and promote that as well.
That will be great, because the special needs adult center staff members are also making masks, which obviously if lodges are interested to place orders and so on. But yeah, I know this is a tourism platform, but tourism is a lot more than just having people visit us and travel. And I think it's important for us to recognize that this is perhaps a good possibility for, when you're taking care of someone else, you forget about your own problems. That's a fact of life.
No, look, if any of you have ideas on things that can be done, I have received a few and I've shared with TASA members, and so that people know that things are happening out there that they can be part of, and where they can also apply themselves, share, and we can just share with others so that we all doing something. I agree with that idea, Susan, that I think we can really turn the lemons into lemonade somehow. And I think and I think it will start with sharing information. because I'm sure there is a lot happening out there already. So let's share that information. We share with others, and then those that would like to partner on certain projects, they can then, join on those. Or, I usually don't like restarting or recreating wheels. If there's already one that's running, let's join on that one and make it stronger, and make that one thing more efficient. So I think we can definitely do that. And yeah, so to any of you listening, just, forward through the ideas to TASA. You can just go on our website. The email is the info@tasa.na. You send your email through to there, I will definitely get it. And then we can just see how we can spread the word and share with others, and see how we can have everybody collaborating in helping one another.
Excellent.
I guess we
Thanks,
have
Fraser.
Maureen
I
back
see
online.
Maureen is there. Maureen, let's just see
Can
whether
you
Maureen's
hear me
in a
now?
second.
Yes, we
Yes, there
can.
you are.
Oh, okay. I figured out what I've done wrong. Sorry for that. Am I clear?
Yes, you are. Very
Okay,
clear.
okay. Okay, there's a couple of things that I quickly would like to refer to. Prosper, first of all, the comment you made about the survey. Okay, and that the responses should have been better, and the same is also to Gita to the Hun surveys, etc. And maybe we must go into a stage where we do a nationwide survey to capture the overall situation. That means not only related to a few association members, because there's a couple of people who are not members of the associations. And the question I have here is, why shouldn't we just simply go to the point where we appoint a statistical research agency to do it really on a scientific base, and maybe people will then be willing to share their data. Because if you don't know to whom you are sending, if it's not a real official statistical research company, the whole issue of data protection is unclear. And people might be hesitant to share their inputs of the inside information without having the assurance of a data protection clause. And that's something that I think we must take to the next level. If I say we, I actually mean all of us. TASA, Han, ITEA, also NTB included. So it must be a joint effort from that point of view. So that's basically what I was thinking in terms of the survey comment that I've picked up. I just would like to add to the destination marketing point of view. Now, I've picked up many comments where people say we must do more this and we must do more that. Well, I can tell you, whatever one can do on a destination marketing level is already being implemented. And it can just grow if budgets are growing. But at the moment, through the channels of our various partners and our various contacts, whether it's PR, trade, media, overall, all over the world, there's a lot already happening. One must just remember that the time is also something one has to take into consideration, because people must be willing to absorb. And take it from your own point of view. Did you absorb any promotions on Mauritius or on Thailand? Did it change your mind? Because if you see all the efforts that Thailand are doing, will you now, after the lockdown, go to Thailand immediately? And I'm sure the answer is no. And you must remember the whole world is targeting, or a couple of destinations are targeting the same target group. What I'm saying is that we have to take into consideration that now the focus is on sorting the people themselves out, working against their own fears, sort out their own situations. And so basically, whatever we're doing now, we must continue and even increase. So as the situation is going to improve, the more marketing we have to do, and not the other way around. This is basically what I truly believe, because currently worldwide people are working against their own situations, their own fears. The focus is on sharing videos about what I'm doing at home and how do I entertain my family, etc., etc. So this is the focus. Now, I think everybody must use this time to sweep in front of their own doors, their own doorstep. I've checked a majority of websites of private sector. And I realized that a simple thing like data protection is not in place, and all these small little things. So you must also do a little bit of homework during this time to make sure that you are compliant. We call it GDPR compliance, and the majority of Namibians are not GDPR compliant. So if you want to target the direct consumer, no matter direct or via whatever channels, you must make sure that you take into consideration that all these little things are in place, and this is the time to do so. We will send something out tomorrow, just another channel that we that we are going to share with private sector. And from our point of view, we have to take a strategic approach. We cannot just do things as it comes into our mind. So in terms of our strategic approach, the next phase we will roll out tomorrow, and this is where we will send an invitation to private sector in terms of visual material. And this visual material will be channeled via our channels, and our channels are reaching the market. And we're currently already having campaigns already running in UK. We've just starting the campaign with the outdoor brand Paramo. So these things, campaigns reach millions of people, but also there we have to make sure that they are ready. The question was, are they willing to continue their partnership with Namibia? So all these type of things we have to take into consideration. In terms of our marketing planning, we have to think a little bit, what's the best way forward for this year? Does it make sense to continue with educationals? Does it make sense to continue with a Namibia Academy? Does it make sense to continue with media trips? Because also there, as long as we don't know when the markets are opening up, it will be a risk. And as long as there's not a vaccine in the market, I think the risk is huge that travel will not recover before the end of the year earlier. So all these type of things we have to keep into consideration. The questions and the concerns and the fears I've picked up from tour guides, etc. Of course, I, as a marketing person, don't have answers to that, but all we can work together, work towards is just to get it sorted so that when markets are opening up, that we are ready. And the question is, are we ready? Because even if markets are going to open up, and if we, or let's do it the other way around, if markets are not opening up and we say, let's go full force for domestic tourism. Okay, we've talked a lot about the pricing can Namibians afford, etc. That's a total different conversation. What I'm trying to ask myself, when you open up, say you have a lodge and you have, in May, you might have 5 people coming from Namibia, 5 Namibians coming. In June, you have another 10 coming. In August, maybe 4. Does it make sense to keep your operations running for a small group of people? And this is something that I need to understand from you guys, to hear from you. Is it really economic viable to keep on going just for a handful of people if the international market is not going to recover very fast? I don't need an answer yet. It's just something that I was trying to figure out for myself. So basically all I want to put you at ease with is, from a destination marketing point of view, things are really on a strategic way, things are already happening, but we also have to listen to the voices out of the market. Just yesterday or just this week, some government said we don't recommend our citizens to travel abroad. Also, other countries are focusing on domestic tourism. So Germany is focusing on domestic tourism. Austria, wherever you go, the focus is on traveling within their own country, which might make sense from their point of view. So taking all this into consideration, I think it will take a while before we go back to normal. And even if it's, maybe if it's going to be more than a year, as today, I'm working on the forecast. What about Indaba? What about ITB next year? Will it actually happen? We don't have a glass ball ourselves, but we have to listen also now again to the advisors we have in the markets. So all these answers we will have to come up and try to address them as they come. And every day is a different situation. So we have to be a little bit flexible in terms of what we do when. But I just wanted to share this with you. I've now just spoken without making notes, etc. So if you have a question on something I've said, maybe on a more formal basis, we can continue with that. And regarding formal, I think it will be most important just for at our level, like Han, Fenata, Han, Taza, Itea, etc. Also there, the dialogue must start, and there has not been much official dialogue at that level. So we cannot expect to have a dialogue with industry as such if at our level we still have to come up with a couple of important discussions. And I think the very first step is to have a dialogue at our level with Fenata, Taza, Han, etc., NTB, and then we take it from there, because there's a lot of ad hoc things run, but I don't see much coordination at higher level. And maybe this is where we can kickstart to make sure that at that level that we have a better improved communication, if you understand. I hope I made myself clear.
This will be my last comment. Thank you, Maureen, and I'm in agreement. I think that that is something that we have to look into, as you've said, that dialogue on association and NTB level. So is that something that maybe we can expect to then hear from NTB in the near future as to how can we talk?
Yes, you will.
Okay. No, that's wonderful.
I think you guys need to definitely set it up in whichever way, even if it's in a important or if it's in a setup like we do it here. This is open for everybody. We are more than happy to help you guys as well if we have to connect everybody in and then help the associations out. And Rupesh is the pro there, so definitely by all means. Let us know. But the most important thing to realize here is that communication is key. And Maureen, your information has now again set the whole bar on a whole different level about what things we can actually look at. So thank you for that. But yes, please, this is exactly, we've had today in today's discussion, we've had tour guides, very important. Get together, speak, feedback. What does the rest of the world need to know about you guys? Now we have the different associations. What is in place? What's happening? So it's vital. So Maureen, was there anything else? Sorry, I interrupted you there now.
Oh, no, I'm actually the silent observer because I'm trying to absorb a little bit also to understand much better what is happening out at home, because my focus is on the markets out there, the outbound markets, but also here at home, it's really good to hear from you guys the fears and the problems. Of course, one knows what is going on, but you know, to hear it in direct terms is also sometimes a type of a wake-up call. And as you exactly said, the tour guys is nobody's taken care of them. Nobody is yeah, and especially the freelance ones. So yeah, these are the sad stories, but all we can say is it's a worldwide situation that doesn't help much, because worldwide, you know, governments are also assisting, and yeah, so let's hope that it all recovers very, very fast. But the other side of the coin, one has to be realistic as well.
Yeah. One more comment. Sorry, guys. Maureen, thank you so much. I think that we today, and I think all can agree, we have shared a lot of very relevant information, and some notes were taken, some things to think about, some things to look into. And I would like to think that we will all take time and, you know, go and look further into these things. And hopefully when, you know, communication happens again, that, you know, we are only going further and higher, and that we get closer and closer to achieving some of the objectives that we would like to see achieved, you know, by this kind of platforms. So yeah, no, thank you for, you know, having me. Thanks, Rupesh, for sending through the invitation and setting this whole thing up. I really appreciate it. It's good to hear from others what they are thinking, what they are dealing with, the challenges, the opportunities, and the opportunities that we have. So yeah, no, thank you for, you know, having me. Thanks, Rupesh.
That being
the victories, all of it, because I think we're at that time where we need to hear all of it. Like I said earlier, let's get the lemons and turn them into lemonade, but we can't have lemonade if we don't have the lemons. So let's hear all the bad stories, and then we can somehow brainstorm and help each other out.
Cool, thank you. Look, just on that,
absolutely.
The video will be on Facebook to see again. It's recording as well, so I can send the audio to everyone if you guys want to take notes again. But we'll probably do another one on Wednesday or something. It's more about people airing their, concerns, and it's easier when you talk face to face instead of like someone said earlier, on WhatsApp, you don't know what's actually happening. You don't know how to take the message. And especially, Prosper, you, Hita, Maureen, being from the associations you represent, it gives people a lot more confidence knowing that, you guys also are involved in this process. It's not informal as such. And I know MET is also listening in on this on Facebook. So, hopefully this will get some wheels rolling and, some things will come out of it.
Can I add? Sorry, yeah.
Sorry, who go? Gitta? By all means.
Yes, just there was me, Matilda.
Oh, Matilda, sorry.
Yes, sorry, just a quick one. I don't want to hog the conversation, so I just wanted to clarify that I don't think the guides are the most important part of the tourism industry. Just wanted to clarify that. I've been following as we're talking, following some of the comments. So we don't think we're the most important. Also, one thing is maybe for the next discussion, we might need to have a representative of conservancies from the communities, game guards, maybe someone from Tosco who can join in as well, because they're obviously also being affected by this.
Yeah, Tosco.
Okay.
Absolutely. Suzanne, you've got your hand raised? No,
that's the old one. I don't know how to take it down.
Okay, I see I've got options now. I'm back on this screen again.
Also, I just, 10 minutes ago, I put in a poll on Facebook to see how many people are willing to fill the survey in. A couple of things. I've sent the link as well on our chat, and a lot of people are saying absolutely they'll fill up the survey.
All right, that's good news.
So let's. It's already getting feedback on it.
Rupesh, that takes us back to something Maureen just mentioned now about possibly taking this survey to an agency that can do it professionally. And I know most of you have to go. We're running out of time, and I apologize that things keep coming up, but I really have to say this. Maureen, I don't know if that's something that firstly we can afford at this point in time, and also I'm not so sure the response from the public on that, how it would come across. So I don't know, maybe it's also things we can think of in that regard. It's a good point that you raise, but my main concern is those two: affordability of it, how would we fund it, and because it could cost quite a lot of money. And also, if they're going to do a scientific research, I think that will require much more time. And I think from what I mentioned earlier and the comments that came thereafter, the idea behind this survey is to just get an idea of what the market is expecting and what they're willing to accept, and how we can work with them, and how we can pretty much, as Heiko rightfully said earlier, involve the public. So I don't know, it's just my thoughts. I don't know what you guys' take is on it, but I would like to think that I would have rather suggested, Maureen, that maybe NTB takes lead on it, and we support with help from the tech gurus such as Rupesh, Heiko, and the guys running with these things. I don't know. I'm just throwing ideas out there. I'm not saying this is how we should go about it, but I don't know what you guys think.
I think that's an excellent idea. We can definitely table that for a next discussion. But the big thing now, we need the public's input to know what questions are we going to ask. Whoever then strategizes that together is definitely going to be then. Whether it's an agency, I'm all for it. Money's tight, so maybe they can sponsor it. If it's a Namibian project, then maybe they would consider something like that. But the big thing here is getting the community involved, and that we're going to do. With that, we have the capability, as all of us in this whole game, we have the prime opportunity now to go out to our people, whoever, doesn't matter who, but go out and say, guys, what is the question that you want to know? What's the answer that you want? and go and put it on the platform to see what can we categorize and put together to that. Maureen, your hand is up. I can see them now. That's awesome.
Yes, I just want to make sure that we're on the same wave. If you say public, who do you mean? Because for me, public is the consumer. The survey, should it be done among the trade or the public as such? So I just want to make sure that we talk about the same type of survey.
Okay, when we say
earlier,
public, it's the consumer, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, the consumer. Okay.
It's the consumer, yeah, because the idea of this survey. So there are two surveys that have to run, and Maureen, you rightfully mentioned, and you actually put them in the right order. You first spoke of the consumer one, which I was referring to at first, but secondly, we also brought up the need for a follow-up survey, which you also mentioned that there must be a follow-up of the current situation. I think that's definitely something worth discussing and talking about. But yeah, definitely, when we say public, we're talking of the consumers, and that's why we think that for now, affordability might be a challenge. So maybe it's something that we can strategize, as Heiko said, to figure out how can we make it work within the industry. I would see NTB being a perfect channel to channel it out. It doesn't mean that NTB has to do the work. There are volunteers. I'm volunteering Rupesh and Heiko to be, to assist with maybe putting it together and helping figuring out how do we get it out there, and then we can all take part in getting it out there to the right people, to everybody, to make sure that they can take part. So right now, as Heiko said, we get input from the public as to what do they want to know. Then we can then figure out how do we summarize that information and ask the right questions, which will bring back the information that we actually need for people to be able to make decisions on how we can cultivate the local market. That's one. Then the second part would then be, as you have suggested, Maureen, that industry follow up to the situation. I mean, you guys can correct me if I've gone off script here, but I think that is my understanding of what we are discussing surrounding these surveys.
Definitely, that's exactly what we need. Get that information and share it within each other, between each other as well, organizations, everybody else that can, and then get the word out there so that we can get the questions. I also want to add on something, just as basically we're getting to closing remarks. We're about 10 minutes over. Last time we ended at 7, but I mean, we all need to start closing off. I understand and respect that. Part of our program was just to highlight some of the information that we've statistically gotten out of the world, not necessarily always our own opinions, because a very important part of this platform is that we actually get our own feelings out there and our own questions to know what's going on, where we're standing, but also from the outside industry. And there it adds to what Maureen said, let's wait and see what the whole world is doing before we react and so on. We said on our side, again, let's keep the positivity flowing, because it doesn't necessarily need to be a perfect strategy in place, but let's keep the positivity going. I know NTB's done, Travel News Namibia has done 21 Days of Joy, things like that. It's snippets of positivity that pop up here and there, and it's the concrete strategies will follow as soon as the world is amicable to actually opening up to travel again. But in terms of our financial impact, and I know affordability of money has a lot of discussions, we had an interesting, we had an interesting thing that came through from Johan Rupert over the weekend, or that was actually quite interesting. And the bigger thing, Johan Rupert, anybody that doesn't know, big, very, very well-known businessman in South Africa, Google him, he's on Wikipedia. But the interesting thing that he came to say is his opening status was basically not to be negative, but be realistic, is the fact that none of us can adhere to a reality where we can think that this is just an economical or financial or a fiscal pause, that we are going through a phase, that we need to, everything will eventually so on, return to normal. Yes, that might all be true in hindsight, but the reality of the matter is there's no way in any way that we can say that this is a pause to the normal life that we knew and how it was. The reality is it's a complete and utter restart. The financial world worldwide is completely restarting to know, where am I adapting? What am I going to be doing? And most of the important parts was to see what's going to happen. I mean, South Africa is statistically saying that everybody's finances, and this is for Namibia and South Africa, is basically in ICU, is completely and utterly in ICU. Our state of unemployment, South Africa is at 32%, it's going, they're anticipating over 50%. Namibia was between 27.94 to 36. It's going to be the same expectancy. So our complete finances, and this is just, I want that to resonate, is that our finances are in ICU, completely and utterly ICU. This platform that we're creating here and the way we want everybody to actually communicate with each other is just so that we can see how eventually can we resuscitate ourselves out of that. And that's where taking hands and working together will actually allow us that opportunity. But Johan Rupert literally said, it's not to be negative, just be realistic. It's not a pause. It is a complete reset. Everything that you thought you knew was normal back whenever, wherever, even if it's a month or 2 or 3 or December when we had our first case, up until now, everything onwards will be different. So keep informed. Be informative about yourself. Do your homework, like Marina as well said. Study up, see what's going on in other markets. Not necessarily only tourism, but especially also other industries and markets that are, whether it's failing, whether it's their whole ups and downs in whichever way they saw it. So the choices for people, what are they going to do? What they're doing at this moment is everybody is on high alert. Everybody's taking care of their nest. So it came back to the fact that some people have nests, some people don't even have nests. But if whatever you're doing, you're taking care of yourself. So instead of trying to sell somebody, and this comes back to our platform again, instead of trying to sell yourself out there, just try and send a positive message. And yeah, I can just refer to those NTB videos, for example. Nobody's selling anything at this point in time, but be informed, keep informed, and have that information. Because, yeah, I mean, JP Morgan was one of the other things that they said. They plunged with 35% on their overall fiscal statistic. And these are things that we need to know or realize how drastic it is. So I want people to keep that in mind and have that. Okay, I'm told to shut up again. So I just wanted to finish that off the program list.
Okay. Who is that? Who told you? Who told you this time? Not us.
It's now I've got this timer set up. I won't name him. I won't say names.
Did you just say you won't name him?
Won't name names.
we already know who the timer is, Rupesh.
It was actually fun. No, guys, do you guys mind if can we do it a bit earlier next time?
Please.
If this is too late.
So, please, yes, that would really be wonderful because
can we have vote from the floor, please? 5 o'clock.
Even earlier, because it's part of work and not many of us have many things to do.
4 o'clock. 4 is also fun.
Can we not make it 3, Rupesh? Because then
3 o'clock is fine.
Yeah, I think it gives us ample time. What do you all think?
What?
Yeah.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not like people have to rush anywhere.
Yes, some of us will do.
Wednesday or Friday.
Yeah.
Right. Does anyone else have any questions? Any topics for next time? Maureen, yes, you're mute.
Okay. I wanted to suggest let's do Friday, please, because it gives enough time for people to get back to us with questions and stuff. Then maybe we can try to, kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Discuss whatever the topic may be on Friday and also look at that. Because if we do Wednesday, that means we would have to then do another one again shortly after. I don't know. What does the flow say? I'm just suggesting.
Maureen has her hand up.
Friday is perfect.
Yeah, I have something nice to say. I actually wanted to say something completely differently, which is actually some good news, but I will do that at the end.
We are at the end, Maureen.
Well, we are at the end now.
That's the end.
Okay.
Michael will shut up now.
just for your information, because life is going on meanwhile, and there's a reality TV show currently running in Germany, and it's not everybody's cup of tea, and we know that. But fact of the story is there's a reality TV show in which we have a Namibian participating. It's a series translated is called Farmer Looks for a Wife or something like that. And I'm just looking the viewer statistics, and they released it this morning, and 3.5 million people watched that show.
Wow.
That means
Wow, that's
3.5 million
amazing.
people saw Namibian farmer Ziggy on his farm, and they showed the farm, they showed the Kalahari, they showed the region, they showed when the ladies arrived at Windhoek International Airport, they showed the guide that picked them up, or the driver. So this is in a nutshell the positive things that are just happening because people are at home, and even they say here the younger generation, they're not. It was a little bit more among the older generation, but old from their point of view is also quite young. But yeah, 3.5 million people, and it has a market share of 10.2%, which was actually good. So I say thank you to Farmer Ziki of the Hardap region.
That's wonderful.
Okay, no, that's awesome.
All right, guys. I think
anyone
this is
else?
Thank you, everyone.
All right.
Good evening.
Thank you, everyone, for
Thank
joining.
you, everyone. And see you soon.
Hi, guys.
All right.
All right. Cheers.
Hi, everyone. Thank you.
Bye, the viewers, and enjoy your Monday evening.
Enjoy your next 2 weeks of weekend.
Prepare for the initiative.